Well, well, well. What do you want me to say? Have we been waiting for this for a little while? I mean, it's not as bad as we're making it out to be, but it looks like the carry trade is starting to unwind. What's the carry trade? Well, in today's video, I'm just going to break it all down for you. So if you are new and you're wondering why Bitcoin has dropped so aggressively, by the end of this video, you'll have a good understanding of what's going on and what you can get ready for. So, welcome to Traders Reality. My name is Tino. Let's have a conversation, man. So to put it into perspective, there's a new AI model that has been released by China called DeepSeek. Now, the word on the street is that it's way more cost effective than what's been put out there already, which has now got investors thinking, hold on a second, if there is a cheaper way of doing business with AI, we may as well go over to the world's factory and start taking advantage of their service. Now, you can appreciate that Trump is already trying to put tariffs on China. China's just come out with the ACE card and really challenged the AI industry within the US. This also compromises Nvidia. This compromises any company that's involved in the AI space because AI is expensive to run. This has naturally had a little bit of a spillover effect on cryptocurrency. Now, of course, this week we have a very important week. We've got the FOMC results coming out, and we've already had the Japanese yen increase their interest rates, which leads me to explain to you what is actually going on right now. Is the carry trade being unwinded, and are we going into another event like the 5th of August, where things could just get a little bit cheaper, but it could also pose as a potential opportunity? Taking it back to the charts, this is the current situation with the Japanese yen. But firstly, before we get into that, what is this carry trade? The carry trade involves borrowing a low interest rate currency. That's the Japanese yen. And then when you borrow that currency, you then take that currency and sell it into a higher yielding asset, such as the dollar. You would then naturally take those dollars and then go and put them to work. That means you're going to buy stocks, you're going to buy Forex, you go buy real estate, whatever it is that the guys involved in the carry trade are trying to utilize. The biggest opportunity for them is the differences in spread between the rate that they borrowed the yen at and, of course, the amount that they're able to exchange in terms of dollars. So what we've been witnessing right now is the yen has been going to the downside. That tells us that investors are borrowing yen and of course taking advantage of a cheaper rate of interest on borrowing that yen and converting it over into dollars. And then they're going to go to the stock market with their dollars and start buying. That's why the Nasdaq has been making moves to the upside. That's why cryptocurrency has been making a move to the upside. Well, just about. But that's what the carry trade principle is. Now, let's just go over to the chart to understand exactly what we need to be aware of if the carry trade principle is starting to unwind. In front of you is the Japanese yen. These are the futures ones, okay? You can see that the yen has actually managed to base out from these lows. Now, those of you that remember, we've been looking for yen to come back into these regions down here around the 0.00635 region. And the lower that the yen goes, the more inclined we are to believe that they are borrowing yen to convert it over to the dollars. Look at what's going on. The yen is moving up pretty aggressively. What should be happening is the dollar is going down, and that's what's going on. So that means that investors are selling their dollars and going back into the yen, thus inflating the value of the yen. So when that happens, that means when the dollar goes down, assets in principle should be appreciating to the upside. Go over to the euro. That's usually the case. You can see now euro is starting to make a move to the upside. That's good news for us. Yen up, euro up, dollar down. So when dollar's down, assets should be appreciating. That means the Nasdaq should be moving up, yeah? Okay then, so let's go and have a look at the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has taken a shoe bag to the downside. Look at that, it's just completely collapsed. But it has managed to find its support in this region right here around the 21,000 zone. What about the bonds? Okay then, hold on. Why do we need to pay attention to the bonds? Well, the bonds are pretty important because it tells us if investors are going to be looking for the safety of low risk investment as opposed to being in high risk investment. What's compromising investors from going into high risk investments? Well, of course, it's this story right here about this new DeepSeek AI model. It's going to be cheaper. That means Nvidia is going to have a little bit of a struggle with this, given that it is the monopoly inside of the AI space. Going over to Nvidia, you can see in the pre-markets, Nvidia is down quite a bit. I mean, look, we're currently trading at $126 a share, nearly 13-14% down. What is going on? So it looks like the stock market ain't too happy. But let's just go back and look at what happened last time when the Japanese yen were experiencing their increase on interest rates. That's the 5th of August. Go over to the 5th of August on your charts, ladies and gentlemen, and you can see that that's when the market crashed down over here. That's the crash, okay? but then it also involved a beautiful move to the upside straight after. Can we make the assumption that Bitcoin is going to repeat the same behavior as it did before? Well, let's just first things look at this. If the Nasdaq is trying to make a recovery back up right now, and that the actual carry trade principle has actually happened, and they have unwinded the carry trade, and now they're going to reset and then start going back in again at new rates, then the logic says that we should be experiencing the market to try and make a recovery back up. Going into smaller time frames, we look at the Nasdaq, you can see it's done very well to hold out in these lows. The red vector candle could suggest that Nasdaq could make a little bit of a recovery back up. But be careful. Like I said, this week is going to be packed with information. This week we have earnings from good old Apple, good old Visa, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla. They're all going to be revealing how good business has been or not. Now, of course, back to this story right here with regards to the DeepSeek. If investors don't like this story about a cheaper version of doing AI, well, what does that mean? Well, that means that money's going to be coming out of the US and going into China because China has got a cheaper way of doing the same thing that Nvidia is offering to its investors and businesses and companies all around the world that want to get involved in AI. So, to put it into perspective, guys, what do we need to be mindful of? Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now looks like it wants to try and make a little bit of a recovery back up, but don't look at the smaller time frames. If you're a day trader, get over to the Platinum Trade Setups section on the Traders Reality website where you're going to get insight into understanding whether or not price is going to go up or down for the day. That information is in the description of this video. However, going into the daily time frame, for most spot holders, you're asking yourself the question if now is the time to buy Bitcoin after this drop. Consider that cryptocurrency is a volatile asset. In front of you, I've got two ranges that you might want to take into consideration. Okay, you've got this area right here, which is the 95,891. You've also got this area down here, which I made a poor attempt to actually mark off a line for, but I'll start again and mark this one over here. You can see this area, the 89,272. Okay, this area could be an area that you could effectively buy Bitcoin on spot. Why? Because Bitcoin is now subject to what's going on in equities markets. So if the bonds markets keep on going up and the yen keeps on going up and the dollar keeps on going down, but the stock market keeps going down, that means Bitcoin is going to have a hard time moving up. But what if the carry trade now has unwinded and that investors are now, you know what, things are still okay. The economy is doing all right. This is just a foreign exchange currency swap that we take advantage of before, in the sense it was cheaper to borrow yen. Now it's a little bit expensive. Let's readjust ourselves. Let's take out some profit and then start going back into the yen. If that's the case, then if Bitcoin can sustain itself within this range, and let me throw in a little one for you extra as well. This is the cloud. Your spot buying opportunities will happen inside of this range. Because if this is the carry trade unwind and it's done and it's now been priced in, equities across the board will then make a recovery. The only thing that compromises that today is investors' expectations of what's going on with this DeepSeek. It could be a potential risk. That's the issue we've got. If we didn't have this DeepSeek story, then the carry trade, in my opinion, would have happened. They've now moved their money out of dollars and gone into yen. They've made a cover in the difference of how much it's now going to cost them to hold that yen because they've increased the cost of borrowing it to 0.5%. Investors have now sold their positions, which is what has led effectively the Nasdaq to take a nosedive to the downside. Now the game repeats. Let's get back in, because now we can get back in on effectively a cheaper Nasdaq. We can now get back in on a cheaper Bitcoin. But if the market opens and we witness their reaction to this DeepSeek, then that means Bitcoin could effectively come back down again. So what are you waiting for? You are effectively waiting to see how the daily's candle finishes. If Bitcoin can finish today above the 50 EMA, which is right now at 97,902, then the idea is that Bitcoin would have found support in this range. And then the next day's candle will reveal if it means business to climb back up. So to finalize, we're going into the day with the expectation that the carry trade has now been priced in. We've seen the drop and it's been fast. The volatility index has shot up. Now it looks like it's coming back down. We are heading into the open of the stock market. They're going to react to the DeepSeek information. They are going to react to what's going on with Japan, but that happened last week, so they already know that information. And if history does repeat itself, the same way that the Nasdaq dropped on the Monday after the yen was increased in its interest rates, it was the same day that everything shot back up. Time your positions. Start light. Don't plow in just because I'm saying that this could be a repeat of what happened before. The only thing that could compromise it is this DeepSeek story about Chinese AI. I'll be checking in with you all later on. Peace.